Good morning, children. In today's class, we are going to learn about perimeters and areas. Before going into the topic, most of us love plants and gardening, isn't it? So, here there was a gardener who loved plants. He wanted to create a beautiful garden beside his house. To keep his garden safe from animals, he wanted to fence the garden on all sides. Before he started the construction of the garden, the gardener had two doubts on his mind. The first doubt was, how will I find the length of the fence that I would need to construct? The second question was, what would be the size of the garden that I would create? So now, can you help the gardener by finding out the solution for these two questions of his? Let's see. We know many shapes around us. All these shapes have a border or a boundary line. This is what is called the perimeter. The perimeter is the total length of all the boundaries of a two-dimensional shape. And area is the surface or the space occupied by a two-dimensional shape. Let us see a diagrammatic representation. In this diagram, there is a rectangle whose boundaries are given in orange lines and whose inner space occupied is shaded in green color. The measure of the green shaded region is the area of the rectangle, and the total length of the orange boundaries is the perimeter of the rectangle. Now, can you help the gardener to find the answers to his question? Definitely. This involves the concept of perimeter and area, which we have just learned. The total length of the fence required can be given by finding the perimeter of the region, and the total size of the garden can be given by finding the area of the region. Now let us see how to find the perimeter and the area of various shapes. First, let us consider a square. So, what do you all know about a square? A square is a two-dimensional shape having four sides. One of the unique features of this two-dimensional shape square is that all the sides of a square are of equal length. As we have seen earlier, perimeter is the total length of all the sides of a given two-dimensional shape. So, for a square, the perimeter of a square is the total boundary of the square, that is, the sum of all the four sides of a square. Since all the sides of a square are equal, we can say that the perimeter of a square is 4 times the length of one side. For a square with a side S unit, the perimeter is 4S. Now, let us see what is the area of a square. As we have seen, all sides of a square are of equal length. Consider you are asked to find the area of this given square. The first thing you have to do is split the given square into small and uniform squares called the unit squares of dimensions 1 into 1. This square has a total of 25 unit squares, 5 unit squares along its length and 5 unit squares along its breadth. Multiplying the length and breadth of the square, we get 5 into 5, which is 5 squared, which is equal to 25. This can be applied to all squares because squares have equal length and breadth, and therefore the area of a square is given by side squared, that is, squaring the side of a square, we get the area of the square. Now let us solve a few problems from the text based on the concepts we have learned so far. Turn to exercise 3.1 and take the 8th question given in the textbook. The question goes like this. Find the perimeter and area of the square whose side is 8 cm. We know that the perimeter of a square is 4 times its side, and the area of a square is the square of its side. We are given that the side of the square is 8 cm. So now, how do you find the perimeter? The perimeter can be found by multiplying the length of the side of the square by 4. That is 4 into 8, which is equal to 32 centimeter. Now, how do we find the area of a square? The formula for the area of the square is square of its side. That is square of 8, which is equal to 64 centimeter square. Now, let us move on to the next question. Take the question number 12 of exercise 3.1. A square park has 40 meter as its perimeter. What is the length of its side? Also find its area. So now we are given that the perimeter of the square park is 40 meter. We are asked to find the side of the square, and also we are asked to find the area of the square. So now we know that the perimeter of a square is given by multiplying the side of the square by 4. That is, perimeter of a square is 4s. We are given the perimeter of the square as 40 meter. Therefore, we can write 40 is equal to 4s, that is 4 times the side of the square. 4 is on the numerator, so while coming to the other side, 4 will go to the denominator. That is 40 by 4 is equal to s. Dividing 40 by 4, we get 10. Hence, the side of the required square park is 10 meter. Now, how do we find the area of the square? We have found that one side of a square is 10 meter. So, to find the area, we just need to square the length of this side. That is, we need to square 10, on which we get 100 meter squared. Area should always be expressed in terms of square units. Now, let us move on to the next question. Take exercise 3.1 and take the second question. A tabular column is given, the first column of which is the side of the square, and the second is the perimeter, and the third column is the area of the square. We need to fill in the incomplete spaces of the table. In the first subdivision, the side of the square is given, and we are asked to find the perimeter and area of the square. So now, we have s is equal to 6 centimeter. We know that the formula for the perimeter of a square is 4 times the side of the square. And here, since the side of the square is 6 centimeter, we have 4 into 6, which is equal to 24 centimeter. The next, we know the area of the square is given by squaring the length of the side of the square, that is s squared. Here s is 6 and 6 squared is 36 centimeter square. In the second subdivision, we are given the perimeter of the square and we are asked to find the side and area of the square. So, the perimeter of the square is 4s, and therefore we have 4s is equal to 100. S is equal to 100 by 4, which is equal to 25 meter. Now, the area of the square is s squared, that is side square. The side is 25. So, squaring 25, we get 625 meter squared, which is the unit of area. In the third subdivision, we are asked to find the side and perimeter of the square. Given area is equal to 49 square feet. The formula for area of the square is s squared. Hence, we have s squared is equal to 49. So, to find s, we need to find the square root of 49. That is, s is equal to root of 49, which is equal to 7 feet. Now, in order to find the perimeter of the square, we need to multiply the side of the square by 4. That is 4 into s. And here s is 7. So, 4 into 7, which is equal to 28 square feet. So now let us move on to the fifth problem of exercise 3.2. In this problem, we are given your garden is in the shape of a square of side 5 meter. Each side is to be fenced with 2 rows of wires. Find how much amount is needed to fence the garden at rupees 10 per meter. So from the data given, the garden is in the shape of a square whose side is 5 meter. We are asked to find what is the amount needed to fence the garden, provided each side is to be fenced with 2 rows of wires. Hence, the total wire needed will be twice the perimeter of the square garden. Now, let us find the perimeter of the given square garden. The side of the square garden is given as 5 meter. Hence, perimeter of the garden is 4 into side, that is 4 into 5, which is equal to 20 meter. From the data, we have seen that the total wire needed is twice the perimeter. Hence, multiplying the perimeter by 2, we get 2 into 20, which is equal to 40 meters. Now, it is given in the question that the cost for fencing 1 meter is rupees 10. We have to fence 40 meters. Hence, the total cost is 40 multiplied by 10, which is equal to 400 rupees, which is the total cost required to fence the given square garden. Now, let us do a small activity based on the concepts we have learned in this class. The activity is how to find the area of simple shapes that we see in our everyday life, like squares, rectangles, and other shapes. The cushions that we see in our sofas are square in shape and the doors are rectangular in shape. Similarly, a fridge is rectangular in shape and a tray or a plate may be rectangular or square in shape. Now, the things you need for doing this activity are as follows: a pencil, a measuring tape, and a notebook to note down the readings that you observe. A measuring tape has 2 sides. One is for measuring inches and other one is for measuring centimeters. In this activity, let us use the centimeter side. So, here we go. The first step we need to do is measure the length and breadth of objects by putting end of the measuring tape on the objects. Note down the measurements in the notebook that you have taken. First, write down the object's shape in front of its name. Then, write the length and breadth of the object. Then, use the formula that we have learned to calculate the perimeter and area of the objects. By doing so, you can record your observations neatly, and you can also find the daily life applications of the concepts we have learned. Thank you, students. Meet you all in the next class.